Whether you've got a house full of people coming over or it's just you, it's always a good time for stuffed shells. If you're looking for a recipe that's going to please everybody, this is the one. This is a terrific dish when you're serving a large crowd and you've got friends, family, coworkers, and not everybody's vegan. Doesn't matter, they're gonna love this. So we're gonna start off by cooking our pasta shells. This box here probably has about 42, 44 shells in it. I'm gonna use about half the box. Prepare it based on the instructions on the box. You typically take about 12 to 14 minutes. You're gonna wanna use a really large pot, probably with about 4 to 6 quarts of water. Keep an eye on it because you don't want to overcook your shells. You need them to hold together so when you fill them, they don't fall apart. While your shells are boiling, you can then gather together the rest of your ingredients. So the next thing we're going to use is 1 package of, I use frozen chopped spinach. You can also use fresh spinach if you want, but I like to keep things easy on myself. And so I've got a 16-ounce package of frozen spinach that I have thawed. And then the most important thing is to make sure you thoroughly drain the excess water out. Spinach typically retains an awful lot of water after it has cooked or thawed, and so you want to make sure you get all that water out. You don't want your filling to be watery. So I'm going to put my thawed spinach into the bowl, and to that I'm going to add our cheeses. So the first thing we're going to use is 1 package, it's an 8-ounce package of vegan cream cheese. We're going to add our vegan ricotta cheese. This is a half a cup of vegan ricotta. It's a really great time for vegans because there are so many fantastic vegan cheeses available now. Long past are the days where the versions of vegan cheese were more like plastic than they were cheese. Today, there are delicious, wonderful cheeses. Ricotta, the one I'm using right now is a Kite Hill ricotta cheese, but you know, if you can't find a ricotta in your store, you can use a vegan mozzarella or even a vegan feta. Anything that's got that flavor and texture that you would typically find in ricotta cheese, use that instead. You can certainly substitute other brands and other ingredients for what I'm using right now when it comes to the cheese. It's the quantity that matters with this. Okay, and now we're going to add garlic cloves. If you really love garlic, go ahead and use 4 of them. If you want to back off a little bit on the garlic, then just use 3. And what we do is we add the garlic to 2 tablespoons of oil, and then we're going to be microwaving it to just slightly cook the garlic, just a little bit, not too much. It just kind of helps infuse the olive oil with the garlic flavor and makes the filling just that much tastier. All right, so in they go together, and now into the microwave for only about 12 seconds. And boy, let me tell you, after you heat up that olive oil and garlic, that smells so good. Next, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of sea salt, a half a teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, and then we're going to add a little bit of nutmeg. Nutmeg is just one of those flavor enhancers. It's really subtle. You're not going to, when you eat this, you're not going to just go, oh wow, that's nutmeg. It's very subtle, but it really helps boost the flavor a lot. I'm a huge fan of freshly ground nutmeg. I love to just grate my own and put that in. So this is probably just shy of a quarter of a teaspoon of freshly ground nutmeg. And now we just mix all of this together. We're at the fun part of making our stuffed shells, and that's stuffing the shells. So what I have here is my pre-cooked pasta shells. And like I mentioned before, I typically do a little bit more than half a box because every once in a while, some of the pasta shells might get torn or they may not be in perfect shape after they've been cooked. And so I like to make sure that I have enough that are in really good shape while I'm filling them, that I can fill my entire pan. I'm using a 9-inch by 13-inch oven-safe baking dish. Typically you want to have a pan that's at least 2.5, 3 inches deep. So this size works perfectly for that. I'm going to use some of my pasta sauce, and you can use whatever your favorite marinara sauce is or pasta sauces. I have here is a basic marinara. You can use it out of a jar or you can make your own. This one is from a jar. And it's about 2.5 cups of marinara. So I'm going to pour a little bit of that into the bottom of the pan, and then I'm just going to spread this marinara around on the bottom. And this will help keep our shells from sticking. So now we just fill the shells, and I use a teaspoon. I take kind of a heaping teaspoon of the filling. I kind of pinch the sides of the shell, and then I pinch the top of it, and then just put it in the pan. And I'm going to continue doing this until I use up all of my shells and filling, or until I run out of room in the pan, or a combination thereof. Something that I hear a lot from others who have decided to adopt a vegan lifestyle or considering a vegan lifestyle, and that is how do they entertain their family and friends? How do they come up with foods and recipes that everyone will enjoy? And it's really a lot easier than I think most of us realize. It's very simple to veganize family recipes and foods that you love and serve it in a way that you'll wow your family and friends and your coworkers and anybody else that you want to entertain, and you want them to not only enjoy what you're serving them, but maybe even help persuade them a little bit in considering a plant-based lifestyle. And this is definitely one of those recipes that you can prepare that I think you will get the accolades you so well deserve. So we've got all of our little shells all stuffed and ready to go, and now the next step is just to cover it with marinara sauce. So I'm just drizzling the last of the sauce over the top. I'm spreading it around, just making sure all of them have a little coating of it. And now we're going to top the shells with some panko breadcrumbs, and what I have are Italian style panko breadcrumbs. So they've got Italian seasonings in it. If you can't find Italian breadcrumbs, you can buy plain. You can even make your own breadcrumbs out of dried bread and run it through your blender, and then just add some Italian seasonings to it. So I'm going to sprinkle this over the top. I'm using 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs. As the shells bake, this is going to provide a nice little crunchy crust on top. And I'm going to do one more thing on top of the breadcrumbs. I think that's enough. I'm going to grate a little bit of Parmesan cheese. This is a really tasty, hard Parmesan. And just a little bit, just give it a little extra flavor. And this is just an optional ingredient that I'm including. But if you happen to have some vegan Parmesan on hand, you might want to put a little bit of it on top of your shells. I just covered the pan with foil, and now I'm going to put it into my preheated 375-degree oven for 25 minutes covered. I'm then going to pull the foil off and let it bake for another 10 minutes so it can brown. The shells are out of the oven. I've let them cool for a few minutes, and they're ready to be served. I added a little touch of color and a little added flavor by just chopping up some fresh basil and sprinkling it over the top. I think it just kind of gives it a nice little contrast in color. I went ahead and made a really simple little salad and some garlic bread, and I think it's the perfect pairing with the shells. So let's see how they turned out here. And there we go. And now all that's left is to give it a taste. That is so good. It's very complex in flavor. Those different varieties of cheeses combined with the marinara and that little subtle nuance of the nutmeg. It is so rich and creamy. You're gonna love this. This dish pairs beautifully with our meatless meatball recipe, which you can see the video here on YouTube. You can also find it and the recipe for the stuffed shells on our website at thecarrotunderground.com. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe. And if you've already subscribed, please share with your friends. Do you have anything in my teeth?
No, you look good.